Hello, and welcome to Be Still and Know. Today is my inaugural video. It's my first video that I've ever made, like with me talking to a camera. So, except for unless you count Snapchat videos, but that's not what this is going to be. So, my name is Adam, and this channel, or this series of videos, is going to be called Be Still and Know, because I am a former teacher. I taught for about 5 years, and one thing that was pretty frustrating teaching in public schools is not being able to pick the topics really that you're going to be teaching, or the things that you really think have value that you want students to know. So some of the things that we're going to talk about are things that are my interests, which are history, some politics, but also a lot of spiritual matters. I'm a very spiritual person. I grew up in a religious house, and I use that word religious, but I'll explain more about what that means to me, because I don't consider myself to be a follower of any one religion anymore. And we're going to talk a lot about that and what it means to be I call it post-religious, or transcendent of religion, because all religions have truth to me, but not all religions have all the truth. And so what I've tried to do throughout my years is research a lot about different religions, and so I'll talk about that on this channel. We're going to talk about New Age, hippy-dippy stuff, transcendence and chakras and crystals and candles and magic and a lot of things that you wouldn't really associate with someone who's a learned person or someone that went to college. And that's just the paradox of these kind of topics, is that they all relate together and you can't really separate one from the other. So those are some of the topics I'll be covering in my series of videos. My first one, though, this one is going to be more about who I am, a little bit of background on me, but also what has my journey been like up until this point recently in the last, I'd say, year or so. Right now I'm sitting in my bedroom. This is where I can kind of center myself and find my peace for the day. It's where I start and end every day, and it's where I try to ground myself before I really go out and face a work day or whatever kind of day I'm going to have. So this is my sanctuary, and that's why I've invited you guys all into my sanctuary to talk about things that are important to me, and that if you're interested in them, will be hopefully enlightening to you as well. I say a lot, so hopefully that, and I also say hopefully a lot. So hopefully these things don't annoy you. I'm going to have a lot of little things that I repeat a lot, but I'm also going to have some things that I'm trying to put into my brain to try and change my thought patterns, because that's another thing that I've been working on lately, is rewiring my brain so that I can manifest things into my life that I really desire and that would really feel a complete story for me in my journey. So first things first, my name's Adam. I'm from Colorado, and one thing about me is that I used to be a teacher until this last year. I started off teaching I was a resident teacher in a public school, and I did 1st and 3rd grade for that year, and then I taught 3rd grade, 5th grade, 7th grade history, and then high school history, because I have a degree in history, because I really love history. And so we're going to talk a lot about some of those kind of topics, but also I have an unofficial degree in internet. And so I like to research a lot of things on the internet about spirituality and about religion and just a lot of different things online. And so I'm going to talk a lot about things that I don't necessarily have from a textbook, and I've never learned it in college, but I've learned it from the internet or from friends or through talking to people, and these are things that I find truth in. And truth doesn't have to always be what science calls true, because science is something that it's great to have. Okay, science helps us to understand the building blocks of nature, but it's not everything in nature, because nature has an underlying energy to it that we still don't understand as a species. So that's why I'm gonna really be diving deep. That's why this channel is called Be Still and Know, because you're gonna have to really take a breath and take some time to process the things that I'm going to be telling you, because a lot of them are deep, and you might have to watch a video once or twice to really understand or get to the level that I'm trying to reach in these videos. Okay, so I was a teacher. Currently, I'm working in the marijuana industry in Colorado, something that I just got into this last year. It's pretty exciting. It was something that I had never done before as a profession, but I'd always, since college, enjoyed marijuana as an herbal supplement, I'd say. But one thing about marijuana, we'll go into more of my history with it later, but it has, in the past, been a great help for medicating certain things that I didn't even know that I had. And it wasn't until I'd say that I stopped smoking as much marijuana that I was able to realize that I had some medical issues going on and that I needed to actually address those issues. So I love marijuana. I love working in the industry right now. It doesn't pay very well, so if you think that you're going to get into it and get rich right away, think again, unless you create maybe your own dispensary or some kind of business, but you'd already have to have money for that, so you'd already have to be rich anyway. But if you think you're going to come to Colorado and just get a job working at a dispensary or a grow warehouse or something like that and get rich, think again, because these companies are structured and designed so that the people at the top, the corporate owners, are the ones that are getting rich, not you. Okay, so think about that. That's another thing that we're going to talk about is money, because that's another part of my journey lately. Is I want to manifest more abundance in my life, and I'm going to go over some of the things that I've been doing to try and ignite that and stoke that in my spirit, in my subconscious, because money is just an idea. Okay, it's currency, it's electricity, it's something that starts in our brain and then becomes part of the physical world, but it's not anything that we can't change, and there's ways that we can manifest, and that's what I'm going to talk about in some of my videos as well. I was a teacher. I'm working in the marijuana industry now. I'm trying to gain more wealth and prosperity in my life so that I can do more of the things that I want to do and have the freedom and energy to do them. Things like these videos, things like I want to write books, I want to produce music. I want to do a lot of things in my life, things that are my passions and my gifts that I'm going to start making time for. Because as one of my friends at my job now has told me, he said, if you had all the time in the world to get everything done that you want to do, nothing would ever get done. It's only when you make time, when there's no time, that things that you value actually get done. And I value creating, and I value putting out into the world things that people will find use for, or that will spark them, or that will ignite them. And that's why I became a teacher in the first place, was I wanted to ignite youth and the passions in youth to look at this world and manifest a new one, to change the things that we know are wrong and to make a better world. And through public teaching, I think I got a little off track with that. And I'll go over that, why I stopped teaching as well in one of my future videos, but not today. Today is just like an introduction and all-encompassing video. So I'll talk about a little bit about that, of why I want to create these videos, of why I want to start a channel where I'm putting out content, of why I want to put out written content as well as auditory content, because I feel like the universe and the Lord has blessed me with a lot of different gifts and things that I've kept to myself and hid under a bushel, as you'd say. And I want to start letting those out. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how can you start manifesting wealth, how can you start letting out your gifts and creating, and then also we're going to talk more about health. And that's because I recently had a health scare, not a scare, but a wake-up call, I'd say. And that was I was recently diagnosed with some thyroid issues. It's called hyperthyroidism. It's where your thyroid gland in your neck produces too much of the thyroid gland hormone, and so that actually causes a lot of different health issues. And some of them could be, you could grow a goiter in your neck, a big old goiter, and your eyeballs pop out like crazy, and you lose a lot of weight, which was happening to me. Not the goiter part, thank God, but I was losing a lot of weight, and I was not exercising anymore. 2 years ago, I decided to get on a health craze and start exercising just to lose weight, and that was because of vanity and ego and appearance, and it wasn't about really health. And so I lost a bunch of weight, but then I stopped exercising completely. I had a toxic relationship I was in back then, and the girl was too jealous, and she wanted me to stop exercising at the gym, so I stopped going. And that's another thing we're going to talk about, is personal development and growing as a person, but also learning how to put up boundaries in relationships. So we'll talk some more about that as well. So my health issues kind of gave me a wake-up call, and so I decided that I was not going to be a person that was sickly, that I was not going to be a person that was taking pills all the time. And a lot of this had to do with my diet. I was still eating crap and junk food, and even food that people don't think of as junk food, that is actually quite common in a lot of people's diets, that you're going to start to see, once I start explaining these things, that they are actually food that is not good for your body. And so I'll talk some more about my diet and what I've been doing lately as well. At this job I just started, I've only been there a month and a half, but I've already lost. So here's a story. I'll just go a little bit into my weight loss. So I lost a bunch of weight, and I kept losing it, and I was diagnosed with hyperthyroidism, and I started taking these thyroid pills, and the doctor told me, you're going to feel a lot better, but you might gain some weight, because it's going to try to balance out your thyroid gland, and that stopping the thyroid hormone from being produced might make you gain some weight. And I was really afraid of that. So I decided I wasn't going to let that happen. And as soon as I got on the thyroid medicine, I also got health conscious and started to really rethink what I was eating, and also what really led me to this point where I'm being diagnosed. I know it's genetic, a lot of it's genetic, but I know, and from what I've researched, that a lot of our genetic preconditions can be helped and remedied a lot just by the foods that we eat, because diet is very powerful. And I'm not talking about diets like the Atkins diet or the Weight Watchers diet or anything like that. I'm not talking about stopping or counting calories. I'm talking about the food that we eat daily, which should become part of a daily habit of what we eat. And that's what I'm talking about. And so I lost a bunch of weight, and I was afraid to gain it back once I started these pills. So I started researching different lifestyles, vegan lifestyles, vegetarian lifestyles, paleo lifestyles. And through my history lens, I started to think about, okay, what are things that human beings used to eat thousands of years ago, before there was civilization or society or industries? And so that's really what has guided me on my health journey, is thinking about prehistoric man, and then thinking about agriculture man, and really deciding for myself, based on my genetics, what would be the best things for me to be eating. And a lot of that is actually pretty similar to what everybody should be eating, which is more just fruits and vegetables, the things that are sun-kissed, the things that come from the ground, that the earth makes naturally, that we evolved to eat. And so a lot of the things that I started doing was just adding more of that. So I'll talk a lot more about my diet and what I do, and all the supplements I take, and what I eat, and how I stay fit, and mentally fit and mentally sound. And so I'll talk about that. I'll talk about my spiritual hobbies and my spiritual practices that I do to kind of ground myself and center myself. So that's what my channel is going to be about. It's going to be kind of eclectic. It's going to be an overview of all the things that I really find interesting, but mostly I hope that they provide value to the viewers, whoever they may be, in whatever time and space in the future. I hope that these videos can bring some value to your human experience, the way that I try to teach things that aren't necessarily going to be in your school's curriculum, at least in a public school. Maybe you went to some fancy, crazy hippie school where they teach you things like this, but most people in America, at least, go to public schools or charter schools or private schools or parochial schools, and you're not going to learn a lot of this in those schools. And I actually learned a lot of this from other people on YouTube that also make videos. Shout out to Ralph Smart of Infinite Waters Diving Deep for my inspiration. He's actually been a big help when it comes to self-esteem, confidence, and a lot of these same topics that I'm talking about, he also talks about. So if you like my channel, or if you like some of these ideas, check out Ralph Smart Infinite Waters Diving Deep on YouTube. And I'm sure that he has millions more videos for you, because he does a video every day, and I won't be doing that every day. I might be doing these maybe once a week or 2 videos a week, but I have right now I have a job, and I'm not going to quit that job for a little bit. The goal is to be able to have the freedom to quit a job and to have enough financial abundance to be able to create and follow my passions and have a different lifestyle instead of having a job, because I don't want to have a job forever. I want to be able to not retire, because I always want to work. I always want to create and do things, but I don't want to have a 9-to-5 or a 4-10s or just a 40-hour week job, because jobs are slavery. And we're going to talk a little bit about that too. We're going to talk about how people in society are organized and how the system has actually put you into a wage slavery, and how you can kind of overcome that. And you can still have a job, but have a job on your terms, okay? And be your own boss. Even if you have a boss, be your own boss. And that takes a lot of spiritual practice to do that, to be able to go to a job and let your boss be the boss, but you're really the boss. And so we'll talk some more about that too, because I've had a lot of experience with jobs. I've had over 25 jobs in 29 years of living, so I'm 29 right now. And yeah, it's going to be a great journey. So stick with me. I'm new at making videos. I'm new at editing. I have a little bit of experience with Photoshop and things like that, but it's kind of new for me. So stick with it. I'm sure that you'll find something interesting in it about these videos, whether it's health, spirituality, history, education, politics, or whatever. I'm sure that something in this will have some value for you if you just be still and know. So thank you again for joining me on my first ever video, and thank you.